Welcome back, Sick'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Top 5 ACC spring football questions. I'll go through all the Power 5 conferences, then maybe jump into kind of maybe a general G5 thing. But, we had BC right around earlier today, and so I thought I would jump in. We had Alexis Cubitt talking Clemson yesterday, but so I thought we would go ACC to start out since the big wave of their spring games is on Saturday. Number 5, can BC, Pitt, and Wake continue to improve? Is this a conference that is getting deeper? Because it is pretty wide open right now, and earlier you heard maybe it's not as much as we may think with Miami maybe on the rise, with Mario Cristobal and maybe Mike Norvell making some waves at Florida State if he can get them out of a hole, and then we'll talk about that in a second. But if these three teams can really improve, Craig, I mean, the ACC can be really interesting, keep improving, because Pitt and Wake, they were in the championship game last year.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's gone, so, I mean, that you get a once-in-a-while type of player like that. I mean, that obviously helps matters. But, they all had their positives, in particular Pitt and Wake Forest last year. And, Jurkovic coming back at BC, I mean, that should obviously help matters so long as he can stay healthy. But I don't know. That's the question. Can they? It sure seems like at least one of them should be able to, possibly Pitt should be able to kind of keep momentum going on. But yeah, that's the big question. And can they do it in enough time to to be able to really take advantage of the fact that some of these others have been down and, are on their way back up? Can you keep adding momentum while the FSUs and the Miamis come roaring back? That's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to the fourth one. Can FSU actually improve? Can they actually do it? Can they there's two things they really need to do overall. One is get an offensive line that can keep Jordan Travis from getting murdered and have pass catchers for him so that he can actually improve in the pass game. If you look at running back and quarterback, they're pretty well set. Wide receiver, they have a ton of transfers, all of whom will probably be better than the lot they had last year. The defense wasn't as bad as people may think, but the offense has just been atrocious for quite a long time, or so hit and miss, where you got playmakers, but you don't have offensive linemen. So if they can actually improve, then the ACC will look vastly different. But I don't know. I'm not going to believe it until I see it, because it's been such a mess for so long.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, there's some things to be positive about, but I still feel kind of like they're in transition to a certain extent. I mean, you've kind of gotten some stability now at this point, but I don't really know who they are, what their identity is. I mean, could you tell me what the identity of FSU football is right now?
Nope. I mean, they used to have it. I mean,
yeah, that's what I mean. Is like, the identity now is just the logo, whereas there used to be a little bit more muster behind that. And so, yeah, there's improvements going on, but can they get back to like having some substance to the brand? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, look, the best team in the ACC is Clemson. They have an identity. Their defense is going to knock you around, and their offense, outside of last year, is going to have the playmakers going to make your head spin. And Florida State used to have the best athletes in the country, save maybe one or two places. I mean, that's just where it was. Best athletes in the country on both sides of the ball, and that's just not the case anymore. Number 3, who replaces Sam Howell at UNC? I mean, this may have been a Pitt question, but we know it's Keaton Slovis at Pitt. UNC, even with Sam Howell last year, a guy who's probably going to be a second-round pick, might sneak into the first round, but let's not play games here with the quarterbacks in this draft. But if Mac Brown is going to take another step forward, he's going to have a quarterback that can win games for them. And UNC took a step back last year, and, they've recruited well, but it all is going to come down to the quarterback, Craig. And right now, Sam Howell's the best one they've had in a very long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to be a program that's around for a while, you have a good player, you replace that player. I mean, pretty simple. So, yeah, Sam Howell was good, but, I mean, let's say he wasn't freaking some Heisman Trophy winner or anything. I mean, there's room for improvement there too. So, yeah, I mean, lost a good player, but, I have confidence. Well, I mostly have confidence in Mac Brown being able to find a quarterback, unless this is like a repeat of his last few years at Texas, and then that would be a little bit concerning, but I don't think that it is. I think that they'll be fine. As far as, how much of an impact they can make, I think that remains to be seen, but I do have faith that Mac Brown's going to have, and continue to have North Carolina more relevant than they've been in football in a long time.
Kind of surprised that they didn't really hit the transfer portal hard, but maybe he's got somebody he likes. So you never know. Number 2, what is Mario Cristobal's immediate impact at Miami? And look, they've got a good quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke, and they've got some good players, but they don't have Miami's used to be they're the baddest dudes in the world. That was their identity. And that's what Mario Cristobal needs to get back to. Can you make them the baddest dudes in the world again? I don't know. But,
I don't see any reason why you can't. I think you can do just about anything you put your mind to, and it's Miami after all. It's not like he's, at East Western State or something like that, where it's a struggle to even get people to come visit you. You're in a recruiting hotbed. You've got a great head coach. He knows what he's doing. He had Oregon. Not like Oregon needed a rebuild or anything when he got there, and he was there a very short amount of time. But I think he had them on a solid trajectory so long as he was sticking around, and I think he'll have Miami in that in a very short amount of time as well. I think this is one of those that, if this were to somehow not work out, I don't know what you do if you're Miami, honestly. I think this is the move that they had to make and that made the most sense, and I think it will work out for them. I think Mario Cristobal is a good coach.
Well, and the only reason it wouldn't work out, honestly, because Mario Cristobal is such a good coach, is if they don't give him what he needs.
Yeah.
If they get locked up in political arguments over, an on-campus stadium or, a stadium that's, they got to move out of the stadium, but one, they've got to improve their facilities on campus anyway. Give him the football on his facility so he can recruit with the other people in the country.
Go out and earn that and not, still be flying the flags from, your last national title in 2001. That's great. They had a great run, but that's also been 20 years now. Yeah. So I know it's been a drought for Oklahoma, and it's been a drought for Texas, and it's been a drought for a lot of other schools. But, yeah, Miami, I'm kind of tired of hearing about the 80s. We're in the 2020s now at this point. So maybe it's not that they need to get back to the brand of the U from 40 years ago. They need to kind of take some of that and then establish something different, that they're not constantly, every time there's a losing season or they're not winning a title, it's, we're just not tough enough, or we're not the bad boys of the 80s. It's there's more than one ways to skin a cat. I think you can do a little bit of what your identity is, but there's also, other options out there. So I think that they'll be fine, and they'll have some of that old U to them, but I'm sure there will be a Cristobal twist on it.
Yeah. And number 1, who are the contenders outside of Clemson, realistically? It's Clemson, and then you have to kind of wonder about everybody else. I could, for the rest of the teams in the ACC, I could give you a reason why they might, but I'll give you a definite reason why they won't. Why they will not be a contender. And I think Clemson, look, they had a down year last year and they lost 3 games. They're healthy and they play a lot better. They'll be back to being Clemson again. You
would think so. I don't
unless
know if
they've hit the wall. But
I don't know
so.
that they're going to get back to, that run that they were on. I think they might have a year or 2 in a row where that, I don't know. Clemson seems like they're built for the long haul. I'm by no means saying it's anything different than that. But look, let's be realistic about what they were doing there for about 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it was. That's to the point to where you lose 3 games and it's like, oh my God, is Dabo on the hot? Just crazy this. So. Outside of them, they're the de facto. But Miami better be. They should be. I don't see why not. Florida State should be better. North Carolina should be better. Even if losing Howell, they didn't have a great year last year, so I would expect improvement. And then you've got, the interesting moves like a Slovis to Pitt to kind of keep that thing going. So
look, does Virginia get better under Tony Elliott with a good quarterback they already have?
With Vatek going to be back in the mix as far as being on the top of mind, because you think about it now in the ACC, we default to Miami and be like, oh yeah, Virginia Tech too, where that used to be right at the one of maybe the first team that you said sometimes, but yeah, there's a lot of schools that are kind of within striking distance, I think. Clemson's got, a couple of miles ahead of everybody because of what they've been doing as of late, but it's interesting conference right now. A lot of teams that aren't normally near the top that have flirted with it, and a lot of teams that aren't normally at the bottom that have flirted with it, and now a lot of changes, and it's not wide open, but it is to some extent.
Yeah, look, I don't know who it is. It's one of those things. It's not going to be like what the Big 12 is going to be in 2 years, where we don't know who the best team's going to be with the new thing or who's going to run it. But it's interesting what's going on in the ACC right now. All right, thanks a lot to everybody who's joined.